it's Steph with Stefsonabudget. Welcome back for another video. Today we're going to be doing some budgeting. I think this is going to end up being a longer video. I wasn't really sure how I wanted to kind of structure this, but I need to do a paycheck budget for my pay period that occurred today, the 24th. So I need to budget out our next 2 weeks, but on top of that, I also need to put together my February monthly budget spread, if you will. So if we flip over to February, you guys, I absolutely love this monthly cover page. So cute. I still have a blank budget. So I am technically looking at this budget as this pay period as part of my February budget. And so I can't do that until I have this done. So I'm a little bit behind, and I thought we would kind of set this up and do the budget with me. So again, it might be a longer video. So if you're not, if you're not interested in seeing how I set up a monthly budget spread utilizing the Budget Mom highlighter method, then you can kind of skip forward to the budget with me part. But I am going to start here because I am going to be paying into February. So I'm just really behind. So I have a blank calendar spread. I use the structure of a big happy planner, though nothing in here is happy planner anymore other than my discs. So my cover I purchased off Etsy, and for the budgeting piece, I use the Budget Mom printable workbook, and that's what I print out. And then my monthly calendars that I used to use from Happy Planner, I have just been making for myself this year because I had a hard time finding a planner that I liked. So I actually like it because I can, create my own kind of cover art for what, strikes the mood for the month. So I need to set up this calendar. I just do a blank one, undated, and then for Christmas, I received the new pastel Date It from Mojo Jojo Plans. You guys have seen my black and white version of this, and now I have a colored version, which I think is beautiful. So I'm gonna start by kind of stickering up the month here, and I have my mouse out because I was gonna pull up the February calendar while I'm doing this, so I know where the month starts and ends. So let's go ahead, and I'm gonna start with this piece. I'm gonna definitely speed you up while I sticker it. You guys, obviously don't need help with that part. And we will jump on in. So I'm gonna just look for, in my sticker book here, all of the stickers, and then we will come back together as I fill out all of the rest of the information. So I'll be back with you here in just a second.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
All right, friends, we've got that all stickered up for the month. I realize this is probably a really faint purple color for you. Might be a little bit hard to see. One thing about this book, I'm just noticing I had to use the smaller one, even though for the monthly, I like the larger. But the way that this is set up, it's kind of like stacked, and I'm not a big fan of that, but that's okay. So when I purchase sticker books like that, I always think to myself, because Happy Planner comes out with so many, and if you're a planner, which many of us budgeters are, it seems like a good rule of thumb for me is I will purchase a book if I am likely to use 50% or more of the stickers. Like, I used to be really bad about loving a particular couple of pages, and I'd buy the sticker book for it, and then I'd find I'd never really go back to it because I didn't enjoy the rest of the stickers as much. So I'm getting better at telling myself, if you're not going to use more than 50% of the book, then you're not going to get that one. But that's more planning than budgeting. So back to the topic at hand. All right, now I've got my monthly spread set up. So now what I'm going to do is plug in all of my paydays, and then I'm going to plug in all of my expenses on the dates that they are scheduled to come out, and that'll help me set up the monthly calendar. So first thing I need to do is set up my paydays. So I'm realizing I need to grab a couple of payday stickers. All right, let me grab this one out really quick. And I think we'll stick with this kind of purple theme I've got going on, and I'm gonna grab 2 of these purple paydays. Now, this is just all fancy extras, you guys. You do not, if you're new to budgeting, you do not need to go out and purchase all of these things to set up your budget. These are things that I already have, and so, you know, you can just use a blank calendar, write everything in, and you're still going to be successful with your budgeting. All right, so my paydays for February are going to be on the 7th and 21st. If you're new to my channel, my husband and I both work full-time, so we're a dual income household, and we're both paid bi-weekly on the same paydays. So we will anticipate a paycheck for each of us on these 2 dates. The next thing I typically like to do over here in the side, on the sidebar, is list out those paydays. So I'm going to be carrying over my January 24th payday, so I'm going to want to put that in here. And then I have February 7th, and then we'll have February 21st. So I'm just going to note those over here because I'm going to use those as a key. And then the next step I want to do is start plugging in those expenses. So I'm just going to work on one page at a time. I'm going to stack you here and tilt you a little bit just for my left-handedness. And we are going to actually start. The first thing I like to do is, the way that I pay my mortgage is I break it up half per paycheck. So I'm just going to go ahead and start by noting that under my paydays. Just like so. And then I'm ready to go ahead and jump up to the first and start plugging in our expenses. So I'm just going to write all of these out as such. So I kind of have a little bill cheat sheet that I use for this, and I can always flip back to like the previous month to check and make sure that I have everything as well. Okay, you're gonna notice a few things like Home Depot and Pandora, things like that, I still have open accounts on, but I don't have any balance due on these accounts. But because it's still an open account, I do leave it in my monthly spread, and I do highlight it. But you will, so just so there's no confusion, like, you know, Stephanie, you're writing Home Depot on the first, but you're not adding it into your budget. And it's because I still have my Home Depot account that's open, but I don't owe any money on that card. So that's just the way that I like to do my budget. Some people might remove them altogether off of their spread. But if it's an open account for me, my personal preference is to leave it there. For example, I have another credit card that our home security cameras are set to charge every year for their annual payment. I don't use that card for anything else, essentially. And if I weren't to have it on my monthly spread, I might forget to check it for that one month out of the year that expense comes to, and I might miss having a payment there. So that's my logic for why I leave those in my budget. But personal finance, guys, so you get to set that up how you like. Okay, we're gonna just keep going here. Oh no, I've messed up already. I'll have to get some white out, that looks terrible. All right, then I'm jumping down to the 12th, nothing. Next one is gonna be the 14th. We have our water bill, and we also have our city number 2. Let's see, and the 15th, we have car insurance that's due, and then we also have Apple Music. Okay, and then the 19th, again, like another credit card that we don't have a balance on, but it's still an open account, so it goes in the budget. And then we have Netflix. So you're gonna kind of see that recurring theme a lot, okay? And then the 21st, we have our mortgage, we have my car payment, and then I also have a Ko-fi subscription. So I need to pop that in there. Okay, 22nd, we have something. Okay, 26th. We've got Disney Plus. And then we have a couple of credit cards that are not, again, open accounts, but no balance that we owe on them. Now, February is always extra unique because we have expenses, you know, on the like 29th and the 30th, and February doesn't always have those days of the week. And let me just double check. I'm pretty sure this February ends on the 28th this year. It sure does. So usually what I'll see is those expenses move to the last date of the month. So what is that gonna look like? Honestly, I'm not sure. Like, one's a subscription. I'm just gonna write them all right here, and I'll just keep an eye on them when they come out. Like, this one will be interesting. My daughter's braces, they just take it out of my HSA automatically every month on the 29th. So I'm assuming they'll just pull it on the 28th. I guess I'll have to kind of get in there and see. So I'm just gonna pop all of these on the last day of the month and assume that's when those will come out. So then let me switch to the second half, and I'm gonna just set that there so I don't get like ink on here. And this one's on the second. So for the second, we have a student loan payment, and I also have another Ko-fi subscription that'll come out. Okay, on the third, we have our internet, we have our Amazon, even though we don't have a balance. So lots of that happening here, you guys. Okay, then the 9th, pop in that new Starlink bill, and the 10th, we have our electricity bill, and then we also pay, oh, don't start PIN. So in the beginning of 2024, we paid off a personal loan, and I still leave that payment in my bills as a debt snowball now. So that $150 that I used to put towards that personal loan has stayed in my budget since we've paid it off, and I put that towards our current debt snowball. So I just list it as personal loan debt snowball. And that's just a mental way of tricking myself into not thinking I have that money back in my budget, and it keeps that money going towards debt. That's one thing about the debt snowball. If that's the method you're choosing to use, it's really important that, what builds your debt snowball is when you list your debts, smallest to largest, you pay off that first debt. Maybe your minimum payment was $25. It's really easy to absorb that $25 back into your budget for something else versus continuing to keep it going towards debt. But if you're absorbing it into something else and not utilizing it for debt, then you're not really building the debt snowball. You are maybe following the snowball method in how you're paying off, but if you don't keep that money rolling into the next debt, then you're not really building that snowball. So that is why I keep that in there. Now, every budget is going to be different. Sometimes you just need to pay off a debt and you truly need to reabsorb that money somewhere else into like your food budget or something like that. Maybe you've been on a bare bone budget to kind of get in a better place. And so sometimes it might take you paying off a couple of those smaller debts and absorbing that money into your budget elsewhere. Keep on working, and then eventually you get to a place where you can keep that money snowballing towards debt. So every situation's unique, you guys. If you're new to this journey, it's trial and error. You just kind of work on things each month, make tweaks here and there, and eventually you'll find something that works well for you and your budget. Okay, so let me keep going. You guys, I don't know if it's the paper or what, but I need some good pens that don't skip all crazy like this. It drives me bonkers because then I have to go back over it like 15 times and it looks crappy. These are just like some really cheap pens I got off Amazon a long time ago. So, I'm not surprised. All right, I'm down here on the 23rd and I've got a Kindle Unlimited subscription for that day. Nothing on the 24th, and the 25th we have our iCloud. So, all right, let's take a look at these together, and let me just kind of run down my list and make sure I've got it. My mortgage payment's due on the 1st, but like I said, I split it in two. So I will have this paycheck that we're about to budget. I'm going to budget my second half of my mortgage to make my February mortgage. So I'm essentially kind of a month ahead in that sense on my mortgage. I'll spend February saving up for March's mortgage, I guess is how I want to say that. So let me just kind of work through this. I'm pretty sure it's looking good. Gas bill. Had a few new things, so I just want to kind of double check. Oh, see, I did miss another Kindle here. I really spent this last weekend kind of going through my credit cards and seeing if I had little subscriptions here and there tied into those. And I did have a few, like I had my husband's Kindle. I have my our Xbox subscription is tied into that. So I went through those to make sure I got them into my budget because I was feeling like, why am I not able to cover these expenses? And it's because I wasn't budgeting properly. So it's always good to kind of revisit those things if you're someone who uses credit cards to pay your bills and then you pay your credit card back. So always good to check in from time to time just to make sure everything is as you think it is. So I spent some time doing that. And speaking of Xbox, I did miss that right here. So like this was going to my Citi card, and I've had a balance on my Citi card that I've been paying off. So I have kind of failed to realize that I had a subscription tied to that I wasn't really budgeting for. So I was essentially really adding debt every month, small amount, and I wasn't really catching it. So again, another reason just to kind of revisit everything. Okay, guys, I'm just doing a double check. All right, I think we're pretty good for February. So the next thing I want to do is then utilize the highlighter method. Let me go back to January in my budget book really quick. I have to pull it out. I set it to the side, you guys. So if I go to my January month here, you can see this is where I'm needing to budget, and this pink color is where I had left off. So really quick off the bat, I know that all of these initial bills before my first payday need to get paid with the last paycheck in January. So I'm gonna go ahead and highlight that to match it up. And we'll just go ahead and highlight these things. Hopefully that ink is dry enough and doesn't smear too bad. It's one of those things about being a lefty. I get a lot of smeared ink, you guys, either from myself or ink doesn't dry well, that sort of thing. Okay, so I know that those bills need to fit that way because I can't be paying anything here or I'm gonna be behind and late. So let's kind of work out the next half of February. And I think for that, I'm gonna do maybe this blue color and this purple color. I'm feeling kind of pastel February. Also, I'm gonna use this Bridgerton sticker book, and these colors kind of vibe with that. So I think that's a good choice. All right, so before I get to highlighting, I wanna make sure that bills are gonna fit where I think they're gonna fit, because sometimes I might pay things early. If I'm particularly bill heavy on one paycheck and less on the other, I might shift some things around. So let me just kind of make sure you can still see the calendar, but also see my calculator. I'm gonna shift a little bit. We're gonna be a little off balance, so sorry if that's kind of irritating, but I want you guys to see the calculator. And we'll move that. Okay, so I'm gonna start, let me get rid of the dog hair. I'm gonna start here. So I know I'm gonna have at least half of my mortgage. I'm gonna take a guess on my gas bill. It's been cold, so I anticipate that to go up. February and March are usually my highest bills because in February I'm paying for January, March I'm paying for February. Those are usually our coldest months here where I'm at. So I'm gonna guess about $250. Could be a little bit more, could be a little bit less. We have the Starlink, which is $50. So this is, we have home internet, and then my husband is a big camper and he is a big ham radio, amateur radio guy. And so he has a portable Starlink that he did pay for monthly because he's going out doing some radio camping and he'll need his like internet service. So we do have that this month. This is kind of one of those you pay for a certain amount of like gigs or whatever, and then, you know, you can either pay it or not if you want the service. So we are paying this month. I got to talking and now I can't remember if I've added that in, but it's 50. Let's see, I'm gonna guess for my electric bill. So I'm just kind of going through and adding these up to make sure, like I have a good idea. I've been budgeting long enough that I kind of know about how much I need per paycheck to cover for my bills. So one way you could do this if you're a bi-weekly budgeter is you can kind of add everything up for the month and divide it by 2 if you want to be even. That's how I essentially like to do mine. So I just kind of try to keep it within $100 to $200 of each other each paycheck. So that's basically what I'm doing here. And again, I keep talking to you guys and forgetting like where I'm at. So I'm here. So I'm just kind of going through, you know, how much these things are, and I'm looking for a certain number here. Okay, I do have that debt snowball. Well, that's not right. Shoot. Okay, so I'm at 3,027 if I stay with, you know, if I highlight everything in this window and nothing in the future. So that's about on average where I'm at with my bi-weekly expenses. So that looks good to me. So I'm going to just kind of keep that number in mind. Then I'm going to go ahead and map out the second half to make sure I don't need to move anything, because I don't want to have like a big chunk of bills. So I need to know how far in advance I need to go. And this is typically why I like to have a couple of months done, even though I didn't even have this month done. So I know I need to get to this Friday afterwards. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I need to get through the 6th of March for this paycheck. So let's see what that would look like. So then I'm back at the 1st, 2nd, the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. Okay, and so I'm going to be roughly $3,002. So that seems pretty balanced to me. So I feel comfortable going ahead and highlighting as things fall. So let's just kind of start with this page. So everything for the 7th is going to get highlighted in purple. So I'm just going to start over here. That's going to be all of these things on this page. And then over here, we'll do the same thing. Okay, so all of that will get paid on February 7th's paycheck. And then I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest for the 21st payday, which we set as this blue one here. And again, even the accounts, lots of accounts here, you guys. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right there alone that I have in here that don't have a balance, but I'm still highlighting them because I am still checking them at that time of the month to make sure nothing has snuck by me, including myself or my husband, right? Okay, we are set up for February now. Typically, what I'll do is now go ahead and decorate the spread. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then we'll come back, you guys can see it, and then we're gonna flip over to back into January and we'll start our actual budget, okay? Okay, friends, I'm back 1 hour later. No, I don't know how long this took me, but this is a fairly quick one. I didn't do much, but I've got my spread all decorated. I think it's super cute, very fitting for Valentine's. So I love it. And I always try to find some really good, like, inspirational quotes to add in here. So I found it's a choice, dearest. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. And this is the first chapter of a happy story. So super cute. I love how it turned out. But now we're ready to do the budget. So this part was just showing you how I set up the monthly spread to be able to prepare my bi-weekly budgets using the highlighter method. So like I said, even though this is still technically January, I am going to count this into my February budget. And I have said this before on my channel, but if you're new, the reason I do that is because I don't get paid monthly, so it's very hard for me to open and close a budget from the 1st through the 31st, for example, because I have expenses for this payday going into the next month. I'm carrying over expenses I'm carrying over income from December to help me pay January. So I usually just kind of offset them. So this was technically, is that how I did it? So December 29th, I got paid in. That was my first January budget. This will be my second. So this is going to actually be February, even though we're getting paid in January. I know that that part is probably really confusing, but for me, when I'm closing out the month and looking at it that way, it's much easier for me to understand the budget that way. So don't be afraid to make adjustments like that as you're working through your budget as well. So now we're going to need to set up the actual budget, paycheck budget. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. let me grab a paper because I cannot write on a single piece. Okay, sorry about that. I gotta stack it up. All right, I have my budget book off to the side because otherwise it's just too much. And like I said, I use the printable version of the Budget Mom workbook. So we're budgeting January 24th paycheck. We're going to budget pay 1 and pay 2. And since I'm putting this together on payday, I have the actual amounts. So our pay 1, I'm gonna budget $2,960. There was some change there, but combined, I think it was enough to make like 50 cents. So not enough to bump it up to the next dollar. So I'm just gonna leave the cents out because I don't carry cents down into the rest of the budget. So I'm not gonna fuss with it too much. And then pay 2, we've got coming in at $18.99. So sorry, a lot of moving of the budget here, you guys. We're looking at budgeting $4,859 for this paycheck. Okay, so that's our income. Like I said, we budget half our mortgage per payday, so we're gonna start off with that right away, and that's for $11.43. Okay. Then we have our iCloud on the 25th for $11. And then we have our Disney Plus subscription. I'm gonna go ahead and annotate a little A here. Oh, and this one as well. That just tells me that this bill comes out automatically. I don't have to go in today and now make that payment. It'll just do it for me. I'm gonna budget $22 for my Disney Plus. I added Hulu to our Disney Plus subscription, so it was like $19.99, and I was like already paying, it was like $2 more. So I think with tax, it should be roughly this. I'm not 100% sure. I'm gonna have to kind of wait until the 26th because it's gonna be a new amount for me this month. Okay, in 2024, we also paid off some debt we had. We had to purchase a new double wall oven. Ours went out last December on us. So we had to purchase a new oven. We paid that debt off pretty early in 2024. But again, I have left that payment in my budget to act as a snowball, and that is for $125. Now you might be asking, Stephanie, why don't you put that in the extra debt section? I leave it up here under fixed expenses. It's more of a mental thing than anything. It just tricks me into thinking that that bill is still part of my budget and I still need to pay it. And by the time I get through my bills, my variable expenses, and all of my savings, I am very likely to eat that money up somewhere else versus keeping it towards debt. And so that's why I keep it here. I rarely ever use this section, in all honesty. But from time to time, I might. So that's what that is. We also need to pay our cell phone carrier, and that's $330, which might seem really expensive to you guys. This covers 6 lines, all unlimited for us. It's a very good phone plan in actuality. And we also get free Max with our cell phone plan, which is a nice little bonus. Okay. We have an Amazon Kids subscription. That's on the 29th, and that's $7. Okay, and then that's it for January. Then I'm jumping into February. So when we flip over to that February spread that we just set up, which I realize you guys can't see, but it's just in the way too much, and it's too much flipping around for you guys. So we're gonna pick up for our student loan payment. That's on the 2nd, and that's $100 is the minimum payment I make. I also have that Ko-Fi subscription on the 2nd, and that's for $9. We're gonna need to pay our internet on the 3rd, and that's $65. And then I have our truck payment on the 5th at $10.13. And that is it, you guys, for our expenses. So let's go ahead and add these all up and see what we're looking at. Okay, so we're at $28.25. Okay, let me just double check I'm not missing anything. All right, guys, that looks good. So let's do 4,859 minus the 2,825 for expenses. That's gonna leave us with $2,035, or shoot, $34 rather, to bring down to our envelopes. So no change here. Our envelopes always have stayed the same. So we've got groceries, Costco. I'm gonna just write these all out. And then we'll go through them together. We've got spending, water, pets, and takeout. I always know I have like one blank line, so that's how I usually know I've got them all. All right, groceries, we're gonna budget our $300. We budget $200 for Costco. We budget $150 for our vehicle gas, $40 for miscellaneous spending, $60 for our house and beauty category, $360 for our spending, $42 we budget for water. This is for drinking water, not our home water bill. I am bumping up my pets. I talked about this a little bit last time. I am consistently over budget for my pet food, so I'm gonna bump this from $35 to $50. And we're gonna budget $100 for takeout. And remember, these amounts cover us for a bi-weekly period, you guys, so 2 weeks. So let's add all this up, see what we're looking at. Okay, $1,302. All right, so if we take the $2,034 minus the $1,302, that leaves us with $732 to bring up here to our savings. This says sinking funds, but I just utilize it as all of my savings. So mostly like my challenges and my binders. So we've got our month ahead, we've got our emergency fund. Let me just list them all out. We have our Christmas savings. That's a big sinking fund for us every year. We have just general savings challenges, and then we have our debt binder. So you can see I kind of combine a lot of things up here. You're maybe wondering, Steph, if you're new to my channel, Stephanie, how do you save for all of your sinking funds? And Christmas I call out individually, and then savings challenges I have a special binder. Those completed challenges always go towards my sinking funds, so that's kind of how I break it down. Now, if I was new to budgeting, and when I was new to budgeting, I did not do savings challenges, you guys. I spent probably the first year of my budgeting journey, maybe even longer, really kind of establishing the foundation before I started throwing in challenges. So I used to just outright stuff sinking funds and pay extra debt. And now, because it took me a while to get my sinking funds to a place where I could go a little bit of time, saving money in a savings challenge before I could stuff it. If I was new, I needed to start getting money into those categories right away versus, waiting a whole 1 or 2 months to finish a challenge to be able to use that money. So there's risk there that if you're trying to put that money into a challenge and you need it, you might end up utilizing debt again, which is not what we want to do. So for me personally, I took some time not to have challenges and to really kind of establish a little bit of a foundation in my sinking funds. And now I'm a little bit ahead in those to the point where I have the time to wait to be able to save it in a challenge, because a challenge oftentimes will take me 1 or 2 months to complete. So just a little tip, if you're new and you're wondering how someone like me, if you watch my saving challenge videos and you're wondering how does that work? That for me is how I started. And then when I first really started doing savings challenges, I would take the rollover from my wallet. So anything left over I had in these categories after the 2 weeks, I would then use to put into savings challenges. So that's one way you can get started. That personally is how I started it, but everybody's situation is going to be unique. So we all start somewhere. Okay, so month ahead, we're putting in $33. That's what I budget per paycheck. We're going to budget $64 for our emergency fund, $100 for Christmas. We're going to budget $225 for our savings challenges, and we're going to budget $200 extra to put towards our debt binder. So I work on a debt binder, and then when that binder is complete, I make a large debt payment. So I'm comfortable doing that because I don't have a lot of high interest debt right now, but if I had a lot of high interest debt, I might reevaluate that. But I love my debt binder. It keeps me motivated, and it makes some sort of debt payoff part of that aspect. It makes it a little bit fun, and so it keeps me more motivated and to stay on track versus if I just had to hand over $200, right? Okay, let's add these all up and see what we're looking at. So we're looking at $622. That's going to go in our binders. So if I take that from the $732, that's going to leave me with $110. Okay, so I'm going to bring this $110 down to this leftover here. And I'm actually going to keep this as a buffer / rollover. And the reason why is because we have some income changes. So our pay to is fluctuating a little bit more than it used to. And so we're still trying to learn what that looks like. And so I am trying to leave a cushion in case I have one in, we have a pay to that comes in particularly low. I like to have a buffer that I can pull in to kind of help cover some of that stuff. So that's where this last $110 is going to go. So I'm not necessarily saving it, spending it. Its job is literally to sit in the account and do nothing. It's going to act as a buffer or rollover. So I'm not necessarily spending it, like I said, but it has a job. Its job is to sit there. So we are assigning every dollar a job, which gets us to the zero-based budget, which is always our goal. So that's a look at our payday for January 24th and how we intend to use our finances to meet our financial goals. So we are saving, we're paying off debt, we are making progress, you guys. I know that this one was particularly longer because I wanted to show you a few different aspects of budgeting, not just the budget itself. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button to stick around, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye, friends.